Hi everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Hannah, and today I will be sharing a short story with you to help you with your listening. The story is titled, Across the Divide. The rain poured heavily that afternoon as Kira wandered through the quiet streets of her city. She pulled her coat tighter around her shoulders, her sketchbook tucked under one arm. Her apartment had felt too small, too empty, and she needed a distraction. That's when she saw it, an old antique shop nestled between two modern buildings. She couldn't remember seeing it before, but the soft glow of its sign called to her. She pushed open the creaky door and stepped inside. The shop smelled of dust and history. Shelves were filled with strange objects, old clocks, faded photographs, and stacks of books with cracked leather covers. Kira wandered deeper into the shop until something caught her eye, a tall, ornate mirror leaning against the back wall. Its frame was golden and covered in intricate carvings of twisting vines and flowers. A deep crack ran diagonally across its surface, but instead of ruining it, the crack seemed to give the mirror a strange, mysterious charm. "How much for the mirror?" Kira asked the shopkeeper, an elderly man with kind eyes. "That one," he said, looking surprised. "It's been here for years. Nobody wants it because of the crack. You can have it for almost nothing." Kira didn't know why, but she felt drawn to it. "I'll take it," she said, handing over a few bills. That evening, she placed the mirror in her small studio, propping it against the wall where the light from her desk lamp reflected off its surface. It was late, but she couldn't sleep, so she began to paint. The soft sound of her brush against the canvas filled the room. Then she heard it, a voice. It was faint, like a whisper, but it made her stop mid-stroke. She looked around. The room was empty. Thinking she had imagined it, she went back to her painting, but the voice came again, clearer this time. It was coming from the mirror. Cautiously, Kira approached the mirror. "Hello?" she said, feeling a little foolish. To her shock, the reflection in the mirror changed. Instead of her studio, she saw a man standing in a room filled with strange machines and glowing lights. He looked as startled as she felt. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice steady but filled with curiosity. "I'm Kira," she replied, her heart racing. "Who are you?" "I'm Ethan," he said. "Where are you? This isn't possible." They quickly realized the truth. The mirror wasn't just a mirror. It was a window between their worlds. Ethan explained that he was a scientist who had spent years studying the possibility of parallel universes. Kira, on the other hand, was an artist who had never thought about science in her life. Yet here they were, two strangers from different worlds, connected by an impossible mirror. The next evening, Kira found herself drawn to the mirror again. Ethan was there, waiting. They began to talk, at first cautiously, then more openly. Ethan told Kira about his world, where cities floated in the sky and trees glowed softly at night. Kira was fascinated. She told him about her life, her art, and her dreams of painting places she had never seen. Their conversations stretched late into the night, and each time they spoke, they felt closer. One evening, Ethan described a glowing tree from his world in vivid detail. Inspired, Kira grabbed her brushes and began to paint it. She worked quickly, the image coming to life on her canvas as Ethan watched through the mirror. When she finished, she held up the painting for him to see. "It's perfect," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "It's exactly how I imagined it." Their connection grew stronger with each passing day. But then Ethan noticed something troubling. The cracks in the mirror were getting worse. The glass shimmered faintly, as though it might break at any moment. "We have a problem," Ethan told Kira one night. "The mirror isn't stable. If it shatters completely, we'll lose this connection forever." Kira's heart sank. "Is there anything we can do?" Ethan nodded. I think I can build a machine to stabilize it, but it's risky. And even if it works, there's something else. He hesitated, his expression serious. The machine might only work if one of us crosses over. One of us would have to leave our world behind. The words hung in the air like a weight. Kira couldn't imagine leaving her world, her family, her art. But the thought of losing Ethan was just as unbearable. Strange things began to happen. One morning, Kira found a small glowing leaf on her studio floor, a leaf from Ethan's world. She picked it up, marveling at its soft light. In Ethan's lab, a paintbrush appeared on his desk, one of Kira's brushes. Their worlds were starting to overlap in unpredictable ways. The urgency grew. Ethan worked tirelessly on his machine. Kira, meanwhile, wrestled with her feelings. She spent hours staring at the mirror, wondering if she could make the leap. When the cracks in the mirror grew deeper, Ethan finally said, "It's time." That evening, they stood facing each other through the mirror. Ethan's machine was ready, glowing faintly behind him. "We have to decide," he said. "If we wait any longer, the mirror will break on its own." Kira's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to lose you," she said. "You won't," Ethan promised. "No matter what happens, I'll find a way back to you." They shared a long, silent moment, their hands almost touching the glass. Then Ethan activated the machine. The mirror began to glow brighter and brighter until the light filled the room. With a deafening crack, the mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces. When the light faded, Kira was alone in her studio. The shards of the mirror lay scattered across the floor. She called out Ethan's name, but there was no answer. Her chest felt heavy, and tears streamed down her face. She thought she had lost him forever. Months passed. Kira tried to move on, but the memory of Ethan lingered. She found herself painting glowing trees and floating cities, images of a world she had never seen but couldn't forget. One day, while walking in the park, she noticed a man sitting on a bench. He was sketching something in a notebook. As she got closer, her heart raced. He was drawing a glowing tree, the same tree Ethan had described. She stopped in her tracks. The man looked up and their eyes met. It was Ethan. He smiled, the same warm, familiar smile she had seen so many times before. "Ethan," she whispered. "Kira," he said, his voice filled with relief. "I told you I'd find you." She ran to him, and they embraced, their worlds finally united in a way neither of them could have imagined. Kira and Ethan proved that love could cross any boundary, even the divide between two universes. Their story was a reminder that some connections are worth fighting for, no matter how impossible they seem. Thank you for joining me today on the English Learning Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend who's also learning English. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.